what that means to the success of your BPM projects. So, once upon a time, BPM kind of ignored the physical world. If you go back and look at early standards such as BPIL, they were all about service-oriented architecture. And interactions with people and physical things were pretty much left to others to worry about. But that didn't work very well for us because, the world just isn't digital. Our business processes involve real-world physical assets and real people who perform tasks and supply information. And our processes must cross this border between the digital and the physical worlds to be useful. They have to interact with those real people, and that's a lot more involved than invoking a service. It isn't as simple as drag and drop. The information that drives our processes may arrive via a variety of channels, and it may be packaged in a variety of formats. Without simple ways to ingest this information, your company is going to struggle to automate your processes. And that's what I'm going to talk about. Now, interacting with people is just getting harder because traditional BPM was focused on interacting with employees. That proved to be challenging, but it was manageable because these employees are paid to interact with your processes. They'll put up with a lot. But now we're having to directly interact with customers and engage them with our processes. And that's a whole new ballgame because if your customers don't actually like interacting with your processes, they'll just leave and go interact with somebody else's processes. To make those interactions easier for your customers, you have to keep it simple. Don't force them to gather information that you can gather for them. If the information that your process needs is already out there in the cloud or in some other legacy data store, send a robot to go get it for them. But sadly, much of the information that you need from customers still exists on paper. Paper won't go away anytime soon, and you've got to get that information off the paper and into an actionable form as cheaply and as quickly as possible. But this can be very challenging because paper can be messy, really messy. The document you need may be stained or creased, but to keep your customers happy, you've got to extract everything that you possibly can before you ask them to type it in. Many people are still crazy about paper. People print things just to read them, and then they scan them right back into the system. That's the state that we're at today. A lot of dead trees for nothing. It's completely insane, but you have to deal with it. One of the biggest wastes of paper are signatures. We've all been forced to print, then sign, then scan, and then shred documents. But it's really the delays in waiting for those wet signatures that are costing us the most. So what's the point I'm trying to make? You can't focus on improving your business processes if you're trapped in dealing with these messy interactions. You need to have tools that are designed to handle the messy interactions that cross the border between the physical and the digital worlds. If you're drowning in paper because your customers are mailing information to you, then we can help you capture, classify, and extract all of the data that you need from that paper. Kofax leads the market in multi-channel capture. If you need to gather data from the web or other digital data sources, Archipal, which won Best in Show at bpmNEXT last year, can easily automate your processes for retrieving that data. And if you need to free your customer from typing in information that already exists on paper, our Kofax mobile capture can turn their smartphone into an intelligent scanner so that you can get the information directly from them without any delays. And if you need to reduce the latencies in your processes that are caused by waiting for wet signatures, with our SignDoc product, which I'll show you today, we can help you capture legally binding electronic signatures and save a few trees. And finally, if you need to bring all these capabilities together to engage your customers with your process, our Total Agility Smart Process Application platform can make it easier. So to recap, the struggle is to get information from the physical world into the digital world without pissing off your customers. Unless you can do that cleanly, you aren't going to be able to focus, and processes that should be managed won't be managed. We can help you with that. And for the rest of my presentation, I'm going to show you how. So let me set up a scenario for you that's all too common. You need to capture something that's on a piece of paper as part of your business process. So a specific example might be somebody has applied for a loan, and they've got an application, and the applications might be on paper, or maybe you already have this electronically. So those of you who've opened an account recently, or if you've tried renting an apartment, for example, you need proofs of ID. So for example, here I have a utility bill, and in my wallet, where's my wallet? I have a driver's license. Okay. It's very common that you have to go down to some physical office to show them these things. Okay, so how are you going to deal with that when this is a critical part of getting people into your business process? So what I'm going to show you is some proven process improvement technology that's available from vendors such as Kofax that you really need to have in your toolkit so that you can improve the wider business process. Back when I was implementing solutions, one of the big problems that we had was I was working, back at Lombardi, it was a pure play BPM, and it always assumed that all of the information was already there. So this actually is, I've redacted some of the information on this because this is a real document from my wife, and she's going to be really happy that I'm sharing this with you. This is her wonderful account here. So let's just say that I need to get this into the world. So first, I want everybody to see that I conveniently spilled a cup of coffee on it. That's why I used her document instead of mine. These are really hard to scan. They're really hard to scan, but we've got a little, you can get this at the App Store. This is the Kofax mobile capture app, and I'm just going to call this a document. So what I want to do is I want to get the information from this piece of paper into an actionable form so I can use it in my process, right? Now you'll notice already it's interactive. It's trying to tell me, hey dummy, I want to take a picture of that thing, and it's telling me to tap the screen to capture the image, or it's going to try to do it automatically. Now what it's doing, it's not taking a picture, it's looking at the video stream. Now see right there it said hold steady. So it's going to try to capture this now. If I can hold it steady, there, it captured it. Now what it's doing is you can clearly see that wonderful cup of coffee stain there over here, right? It's not very readable. This is an on-device image processing that's going on here. And what it did was, well, it's telling me the image is blurry because I wasn't holding it too steady. But what this process is doing, it's taking a picture and then it is perfecting that picture for the purpose of optical character recognition and data extraction. Okay? So if anybody here use Concur for your expense reports? Very, very, very common, right? And what happens when you take the picture of your receipt and you submit your report? Well, the administrator calls you up and says that picture was too blurry, we can't use that, right? So what this application is doing is this is ensuring that that won't happen. This is using processing on the phone itself to create a perfect image for the purpose of downstream data extraction. Okay. Now what it's done, you notice, it's just like OxyClean. It got rid of that coffee stain, right? It took that off of there. It turned it into a black and white photo. It did that for two reasons. It did it because this is less data that has to be sent from your phone back to the server, which is important in mobile. And if you're going to archive this thing off, it's now a binary black and white image, so it takes up less storage. But it has retained all of the information that is necessary for the data extraction, which would come next. So what we actually do with this is our mobile capture, and this can be incorporated into your own app. So this is our sample banking app here, and I could log in as Laura Wilson. I have a driver's license right here that proves I'm Laura Wilson. So this is working better. And so if you need to incorporate mobile capture into your own app, we have iOS and Android libraries available for this. It can also be included in browser-based applications, so you could do the same thing from there. All right, so now I'm going to capture a document, and it says place the document on a solid contrasting background, position the camera to fit the document within, and then avoid glare. So I'm going to do both my driver's license and my utility bill here. So I just position this, capture the document. There's the driver's license. Now see those little lines there? You see those little lines? That's lining up so it can take the picture. It took the picture, all right? 14%, 10%. Hopefully it'll like this better than my coffee stain thing. Okay, and see it turned it into this black and white image. So I'm going to click check saying, yeah, I want to use that one. And then it's going to capture another document. This is my utility bill, all right? See those lines around it? So it's doing a transformation so that this things get nice and flat. Probably work a bit. There you go. So it took it in. Now it's doing the image processing to make a perfected image so that it can show up nicely, hopefully. And there you go. It's good enough, so I checked that. And now that I'm done, I'm just going to click the little flag there that means go for it. And I'm going to submit these documents. All right. Now, that's the first part of your process. Let's switch over to this one now. That's what Laura would have to do in order to get her documents in. So the advantage there is that Laura didn't have to type anything, right? And the advantage to you is that this technology, we call it virtual, that's a brand name, is virtual rescan. You don't have to scan it again because we took a bunch of different images, put them all together, cleaned them up so that now you've got this nice clean data for optical character recognition. Now, what this is a special purpose-built tool for teaching our transformation server. So we have a separate transformation server that is running. So when those images come in, what we want to do is two things. First, we want to categorize, classify what that thing is. And the second thing we want to do is we want to extract useful information off of that image. Okay? So we don't code this. What we do is we teach it. So what you do is you come up with a whole bunch of documents that are representative of what your business does. You load them into this tool. An operator sees the images here on the screen. And the operator lassos the information. So I've already said that out of this, I want to have the first name, last name, street, city, zip, right, from this document. So what I do is I show it where those fields are on this document. And I also classify this document. I say, this is a driver's license, and this, if you recognize it as a driver's license, this is where these fields ought to be. And it's very fuzzy pattern matching, right? So this happens to be a genuine California driver's license, as you've all seen, judging by the picture there. But every state's driver's license is slightly different. But the basic pattern of a driver's license is something that can be learned. So it can recognize, oh, that's a driver's license. And then it might have to figure out what state it's from. And then it might have to get this information. So go back to my use case there. I needed to supply, in order to get my apartment, I needed to supply my proof of ID, which could be a driver's license or a passport, right? So I teach it what driver's license means. I teach it what passport means. And a utility bill. Now think about utility bill. That one's really hard because most utility companies, there is no standard format. So you might have to scan in thousands of utility bills for it to understand what utility bill is. Okay. But the point is, you don't write any code. It's look and learn, right? This is what this looks like. And I think that that's something that you can see happening, period, across business programming, is instead of writing code, it's like you go by examples. Our process mining is kind of the same thing when you think about it. It's recognizing patterns. Okay, so this is fine. We train our system so that when an image comes in, it can figure out what the heck that image is, and then it can extract information off of that image, which we need for our business processes. But it's not perfect. It's not perfect. So the other part of this system, all right, this is what the employee of the bank would see. All right, so what we see in here is, well, this is interesting. I've been given, Val has been given some tasks here, and I'm sorry I can't expand it because it's, but see, he's got 2 validate document tasks. And look right there, we know, because it was submitted from that app, that it's Laura Wilson's documents, right? So this is the guy at the bank. Our automated classification and extraction already knows that these are documents for Laura Wilson, so it's connected it to that business process. And then if we go in and click on the validate document step, this is the task that I'm claiming. And what you see, and once again, apologies for the screen resolution, this message is basically saying, hey, I was able to recognize everything and I pulled everything that I needed off of those documents. But for now, for the sake, I'm going to say, no, it didn't work. So I'm going to say no. So what you're seeing here is you're actually seeing the image of that document. This is, we tried to extract the information that we needed from that document, and our automated system couldn't do it. So the exception path is to go back to a real human to come and look at this and pull that information off of there. In this case, it got everything it needed. It got her address, it got her name. But let's say that the zip code, it thought that it was a Z instead of a 2. That's the kind of thing you would see here. And then the operative this is very much like the same training interface that you had at the beginning, right? It's the same thing. The knowledge worker is able to come here, make sense of the bad handwriting, say that's a 2 instead of a Z, or whatever it might be. This knowledge actually goes back into our knowledge base in our extraction engine, in our transformation engine, to improve it so that the next time it can make a better guess about what that is. Now that's an awful lot like what we really all want to do with process improvement, right? We defined a process, what happened, what was supposed to happen isn't exactly right, so we do something different. We want to capture that, get that back into the model. Okay. Now this is in the specific domain of recognizing things that are on paper. Okay. This is a specialized tool purpose-built for learning how to pull things off of paper. Now, I've got another tool here that I hope I can bring up. Now, last year, we showed you this tool, which looks very much the same. This is a specialized tool from Kapow when it comes up. This is a studio for teaching our robot how to go get information from a website. Okay? And I'm sorry it's taken so long to come up. But when it comes up, was you can navigate to a website and actually see the website, and the person tells the environment, this is the information from this website that I want. The person is training the robot on what to go get. And the robot is able to introspect the actual structure of the document. So just like there in the pulling things off a paper case, when pulling things from a data source, if it's not quite right, but it's close, the robot can be smart enough to pull that information. And we can pull information from websites, we can pull information from Excel data stores, we can pull information from all sorts of things. But once again, it's more of a teaching, learning kind of environment instead of a traditional programming environment. Now, to tie all of this stuff together, this is our environment for building processes. So let me just pull up the process designer here. So I can come into here and I can create, for example, a process. I can create a process fragment. This is just like all of the BPM tools that you guys have. The only difference here is because we happen to own those other things. We own the electronic signature, we own the mobile capture, we own the transformation designer. We have pre-built integrations to those things into our process modeler so that you can just drag and drop and configure things. So back to what was the point that I was trying to get at? It's when you're actually implementing projects, part of the failure of BPM in the first generation was it would turn out to be a lot more expensive to actually implement a project than they thought it was going to be. because when you're selling a solution to a customer and the customer needs to, for example, get information from a piece of paper, or they need to get information for a website, or they need, as Miguel was talking about, they need a better user interface in order for interacting with the process digitally. These are the things that cost so much money. So it's all of these little purpose-built, specialized tools for improving very specific processes that can help you pragmatically build a solution and deploy it quickly. Now our stuff, as I said, we've done it with IBM, we've done it with Oracle's BPM, we can connect to anything in the world. What we have found, sometimes what clients like to do though is they like to use our tool for building specifically the process around gathering information and interacting with the customer, right? And that's all they do with us. And then when we pass the information on to something else for the long-running business process. So we can kind of keep that one clean. So that was my wonderful demo. It went flawlessly. I'm so happy it went so well today. But I think that was enough to give you the idea that I think BPMN is a great tool, but I think what is next in BPM is to recognize that we need a lot of different types of tools. The decision modeling stuff that we saw today is a pretty good example of that. This ability to in these cases where you have these mailroom type applications or onboarding or anything that requires getting information from the physical world, you need specialized tooling for that that's easy to learn. The trend that we happen to be seeing is away from a monolithic environment in which you do everything. What we're seeing is much more the app model. So you could think of our little transformation designer there as an app that all it does is help you get stuff off of paper. And you could think of the Kapow Studio as all it does is help you get information from a website. And it also helps you get an unexpired license for Kapow, I think. But anyway. So that's really all I had to say, so I'll just open it up for questions.